Greetings all! Today we will be examining the uncommon fairy-type Pokemon Milcery and its rare evolution Alcremie, the two collectively known as the Cream Pokémon. While they might look edible and too adorable to be a threat of any sort, the members of the Milcery family are unique creatures whose forms push the boundaries of where the line between Pokemon and food lay.
Milcery have bodies that are made of animated and condensed cream, with droplets of the form spilling out and rejoining their body on a constant basis. There are a few other distinguishing features to them, aside from a small simple mouth and large white eyes. The evolved form Alcremie have a more humanoid frame to them, with a central body with no legs and a pair of three-fingered arms, with a small head and large crown of whipped cream with sweets attached to the side of it. Their tiny mouths and large red eyes stand out strongly from the rest of their form, which has a colorful swirl texture whose color and decoration depend on the sweets used to evolve them. It is further noted that Alcremie have access to a Gigantamax form, and in this state, these creatures grow immensely in size, and their forms become the top part of a giant decorated multi-layered cake, complete with all the different sweets they can possibly combine with in a gorgeous and elegant body. Milcery are curious creatures that have bodies made out of pure cream, with no sense of distinction in terms of their physical form, aside from being in a much thicker state than normal, as indicated by their bodies forming little droplets that constantly spring up and down from their forms. While it is said that these creatures are born alone from sweet-smelling particles in the air, the real truth is that they are more or less piles of cream that have been animated by a sentient form of fairy force energy, not unlike Pokemon such as Carbink and Diancie.
As a result of this, their physical forms are fairly frail, and they only learn a grand total of 3 damage-dealing attacks naturally throughout their lifetime, each spaced fairly far apart from each other, and their overall stats are quite poor and leave much to be desired.
This means that these bizarre critters are fairly defenseless and tend to make their lives around farms and similar man-made environments in the countryside where they know they are at least somewhat protected against attack. Moreover, Milcery are normally unable to evolve at all, but if they are given a special sweet to hold, of which there are several varieties, and are then mixed with them physically by having them rotated around rapidly, their bodies will change physically as they are combined with the sweet, their cells changing form in the presence of these items as they mutate and evolve into Alcremie. They come in an incredible degree of variation in regards to how they look, depending upon the ingredients, and while it might not have much of an impact on their performance in battle, as it is only a cosmetic difference in these cases, it is still enough to make those who enjoy the present want to try and get as many of the variants as they possibly can.
In speaking of their combat capabilities though, these exclusively female creatures are also linked in their abilities to their own form, as while they normally have Sweet Veil as their only base ability due to their edible sugary forms, if the aroma they give off is also quite strong, they can have Aroma Veil as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned, the literal food bodies they occupy render these creatures unable to take a lot of damage and are weak physically and in terms of overall mobility, so most of their base stats are below average for a fully evolved fairy-type Pokemon. At the very least though, they can use special offenses decently well and take special hits even better, their base special attack and special defense stats being above average for a fully evolved fairy-type Pokemon, so they do have at least a few good traits that can be worked with.
Thankfully for those that live near and around Milcery, they can help to make their keep by assisting those that are trying to make good food products for the world to enjoy.
As they tend to live on farms, these creatures have the power to make life for farmers that own the habitats easier by infusing their dairy products with fairy force energy, making them more delicious and easier for people to digest, especially those that are lactose intolerant. This goes double for bakers as well, as they can use their power to infuse their cream bodies into any pastry, which makes it sweeter and more delicious, and it is said that any pastry that they visit is guaranteed to have success and good fortune with its products, which might help to explain why such businesses thrive in the Galar region where they are native. The only downside that can come with this is that Milcery must expend parts of their body in order to help others along, but they can easily be replenished with a douse of heavy cream, so they are not totally without help on that note. In addition, their limited offensive presence can make them difficult to work with from a combat perspective, but they at least make up for this in being able to learn a lot of strong support moves as well as the recover technique later in life, so they at least have some ways to keep themselves alive and be useful in the face of potential danger. Alcremie are very kind creatures as a whole, and love to share their tasty bodies with whoever they trust. This especially goes for their trainers, as these little creatures will gladly offer parts of their forms as snacks to those in need, and will further offer up the berries they are decorated with to those that they completely and utterly trust. This does no real harm to them, as the berry sweets they are decorated with, as well as their body as a whole, can be regenerated if they are allowed to consume sweets themselves. And in speaking on that, because evolution requires them to be physically mixed with one sweet of choice, the type of sweet, the direction of rotation, how much they are rotated and mixed, and what time of day it is, all have an impact on the final appearance of the resulting Alcremie, with there being different varieties of vanilla cream, ruby cream, caramel swirl, ruby swirl, matcha cream, slated cream, lemon cream, mint cream, and rainbow swirl forms, taking on different flavors that include sweet and tart, aromatic, refreshing, sour, salty, bitter, a mixture of the above, and something otherwise unique and complex, with a grand total of over 5 dozen variants being possible. The flavor of their forms is also highly dependent on their mood, just as much as it is their ingredients, and while those in a distressed mood will often taste bland and lack much flavor, those that are content and happy will secrete cream from their hands that is much sweeter and richer than normal, making them a true and literal treat to those that can keep them happy.
This means that they will only ever taste their best when in the best possible moods, so it is always important to keep these creatures as happy as possible to make the most of them.
It is further interesting to note that Alcremie generally do not like to fight, and instead work better as aids in battle, using their bodies to deliver moves like their signature decorate technique, which they acquire immediately after evolution to help make their teammates stronger, and are thus best left to supporting roles in battle if their extremely limited move selection simply isn't enough to turn the tide in a conflict.
Lastly, it is noted that Alcremie is one of only a limited number of Pokemon capable of undergoing the process of Gigantamaxing, with specific members of the species taking on a unique form when they are Dynamaxed in battle.
In this form, the cream that pours from their body comes forth endlessly and actually stiffens when compressed by an impact, with harder impacts causing the cream to become harder in turn. In addition, they primarily attack by launching missiles made from concentrated fairy force energy and cream, each carrying at least 100,000 kilocalories, more than enough to make anyone's head swim if they were to get hit by one. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in this state allows Alcremie to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Finale, which takes the standard Max Starfall attack and replaces the projectiles with massive globs of cream that heal the user and its allies after each successful execution of the attack, allowing these monsters as a whole to make use of their Dynamax power to the fullest to keep them healed and refreshed over the course of a battle.
Milcery and Alcremie are easily some of the cutest Pokemon I have ever seen, and even though they might be small, they pack so much charm that it's hard for anyone to not love them. Some might find it tempting to actually eat them, and luckily they are edible, but most are happier just taking small bites of them here or there to give them time to regenerate. I always find it funny to think of how food webs work, with creatures eating each other for survival, and then we have these little cuties who are made of actual food, and yet seem to be fine with others taking a nibble every once in a while. Just be wary around them if you got a hungry stomach or if you're watching your weight. Dine on them too often, and you might end up looking a bit like me, which I suppose is a bonus if you're into larger people.
While there might be more sweets than combatants in most cases, the members of the Milcery family are still fun-loving and adorable creatures that can more than provide a quick snack to anyone in need of something to calm their sweet tooth. You might have to keep an eye out for those that truly wish to make a meal out of them, but don't think these little fairies can't back up themselves when confronted.
So do yourself a favor, and remember that, though they might not have much in the way of attack options naturally, even if they do get eaten for a time, you can bet that whoever tries to eat them whole will find themselves having a hard time handling all the calories they'll have to process in turn.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Utitus and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.